Right now, there's a narrow stretch of water in the Middle East that could decide the future of the global economy and possibly the future of this war in Iran. The Straits of Hormuz sits between Iran on one side and Oman and the United Arab Emirates on the other. It connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, and the geography makes it one of the most critical choke points in global trade. At its narrowest point, the strait's only about 21 miles wide. But here's the important detail. The actual shipping lanes are much smaller. Those are only 2 kilometers wide going in each direction, with a separation of a 3-kilometer safety gap between those 2 lanes. So it is very, very narrow. That means massive oil tankers, some of the largest on Earth, are all funneling through extremely tight corridors. And every day, almost about 20% of the world's oil supply moves through that water. Let that sink in. 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil used on this planet travels through the Straits of Hormuz. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates all rely on this passage to export their energy. If it shuts down, energy markets don't just wobble, they shock the global economy. The reason everyone is watching the Straits of Hormuz right now is simple. The war with Iran has dramatically increased tensions in this region. Iran has long argued if its economy is strangled by sanctions or war, it has the ability to block the strait. And that's one thing I think the United States forgot in its military planning on this part. And from a military standpoint, Iran has built an entire strategy around that possibility. Instead of trying to defeat larger navies head-on, Iran focuses on this asymmetrical warfare. That includes fast attack boats, sea mines, anti-ship missiles, coastal missile defense batteries, drone attacks. The idea is not necessarily to sink every tanker. The idea is to create enough chaos and risk, and even the element of just it being there. They don't have to do anything, just to get them to imagining that the risk is there. Shipping companies then will refuse to sail through the strait. You just have to scare them to death. If insurance companies decide tankers are too vulnerable, ships simply stop coming. And right now you can see on a lot of these maps, they're just stacked up on both sides of the Straits of Hormuz. And with global oil supply suddenly tightens, that's why even small incidents in the region can trigger massive reactions in financial markets. And that's what you're really seeing right now. It is really starting to trigger everybody on a razor's edge of what to do next. And you have President Trump asking his allies to help, and of course he's treated them badly, and he's really wanting them to do it. They're not doing. Not a single one is anteed up. I give you an example. The British had 4 sea mine sweepers, and they were decommissioned last year, and they're trying to put some new technology together on some new type of minesweepers, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Now, the U.S. had 4 minesweepers. Trump just decided to pull them out and take them back to the United States to be decommissioned and scrapped. Oh my God, no one's been thinking on this one here. And they have one little class ship that is supposed to be a minesweeper, but it hasn't been proven. We'll have to see what's next with that. Now let's talk about the military situation, because the Strait of Hormuz isn't just an economic choke point. it's also about the most heavily militarized waterways on Earth. On the western side of the strait, Iran controls several islands and coastal mine missile sites. These positions allow Iranian forces to monitor and potentially strike ships moving through the corridor. Meanwhile, the United States and its allies maintain a constant naval presence in the region. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, based in Bahrain, regularly patrols the Persian Gulf. Clarify something here. The Fifth Fleet, that's their headquarters there. They don't necessarily patrol the Gulf, but they maintain the control of the forces that do patrol the Gulf itself. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, and surveillance aircraft all operate nearby. Their mission is straightforward. Keep the shipping lanes open, but that mission comes with enormous risk. Because in such a narrow waterway, a single miscalculation could quickly escalate. A drone attack, a missile strike, even a collision between ships. You have sea mines that can be planted out there, and once they're planted, they can just go in any direction and not know where they're going to go. You have pressure mines that sit on the bottom of the sea lanes and wait for a ship to pass underneath it. So there's a lot of deadly devices that they can plant and disrupt shipping. History has shown that naval incidents in the region can spiral rapidly. And when major powers are involved, the stakes grow even higher.
With us now, CNN national security analyst Beth Sander, and with us, CNN military analyst, retired Colonel Cedric Leighton. And Beth, I just want to start with the latest news from what we've been seeing inside the Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the cargo vessels that's been hit. This is a new image we're getting in. Yeah. You can see the smoke coming out of that. It is one of 3 vessels hit, 1, 2, 3 over the last 12 hours or so. So what does this tell you? If the Iranians are doing this to ships in this key shipping lane, what does it tell you about what they're capable of and what their plans are?
So what we're seeing now, so we started off with this idea yesterday that they were going to start putting mines in. And I think that we have to understand here that mines are part of a system, right? So it's mines, drones, rockets, missiles, right? And so in this very small area, and the only place that you can pass here is really only 2 miles, not 20 miles. And so when you have this much concentration, what the Iranians are telling us is like, we're in, right? This is now, they have made a decision that they are shutting their own access here by laying these mines. They're shutting themselves in, essentially, and it's worth it for them. So they're all in now.
One of the things they've been saying in the papers this morning is the Iranians are showing they have a vote in all of this. And just to give you one more sense of what this is, them shutting down the waterway, you can see ships here on one end of the strait, ships here on one end of the strait. But by and large, this area here, this most narrow area, 20 miles wide, but the shipping lane itself really just 2 miles, that all but empty.
Now, what I really want to point out here is that you can see on the map that they've shown, it's very, very restrictive. And a lot of things can be played into the pieces in there, that small area. So it's really a war of all things. Now, this is the first time the Straits of Hormuz has been at the center of global tension. During the 1980s, the Iran-Iraq War, sometimes known as the Tanker War, erupted, both sides targeting oil tankers traveling through the Persian Gulf. More than 400 commercial ships were attacked during that conflict. And that was an 8-year bloody conflict that went nowhere, with a couple of million on both sides dying. Missiles, mines, airstrikes turned the shipping lanes into a battlefield. The United States eventually stepped in to escort the oil tankers through the region. Even then, accidents and attacks still occurred. One U.S. naval vessel struck an Iranian mine. Another traffic incident saw a civilian passenger aircraft mistakenly shot down, and that was done by the USS Vincennes. That was an ugly situation. These events showed how quickly chaos can unfold in a confined and heavily armed environment, and many military planners today worry that history could repeat itself. And what makes it even worse than that today is back then you didn't have drones. Back then you didn't have some of these exotic types of mines that could be set off by pressure or by sound waves and anything else that's different than the old traditional sea mines that were back then during the 80s. So it's a brave new world out there. And they used also, I believe, silkworm missiles out there in the 1980s. They're not going to be using those. They're going to be using the different types of drones that could be going out and reaching out and touching all these. So it's going to be a huge challenge to military planners. And the U.S. has not planned on this. If they had, they'd been doing something by now. They're screaming uncle, crying for everybody else. Come help me, please, 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 mama, come help me. So what would actually happen if the Straits of Hormuz were blocked? The first impact would hit energy markets. We're kind of seeing that right now with gas prices going up. Oil prices could spike dramatically within days. That's happened. It's hanging around $110 right now. Some analysts have warned prices could jump well above $150 per barrel, and I expect probably $200 if shipping through the strait stopped completely. That would affect everything from transportation to manufacturing. And once that happens, it has a ripple effect to the entire economy. Gas prices would rise, shipping costs would surge, and the economy is already dealing with inflation, could face another shock. Countries around the world have strategic oil reserves to help cushion disruptions, and a number of them have already opened up those to help curb the gas prices. But those reserves are designed to handle temporary crises, not long-term blockades, especially like what happened back in '73. If the strait remained closed for weeks or months, global supply chains could begin to strain. And that could get real ugly. And that's why governments across the world are watching the situation so closely. Give you an example. President Trump has asked China to help with the straits. Sorry, China's never gotten involved in anything in the world affairs, and it will not get involved in there. They are penny pinchers when it comes to going out and doing anything. And that's a non-starter, so no one's going to come to the aid. Despite the threats and rhetoric, it's important to understand something. Closing the Straits of Hormuz would hurt everyone involved, so including Iran. So they're willing to take on the pain for gain here. Iran itself exports oil through this region, and that's to China. It's its biggest buyer. And shutting the straits will almost certainly trigger a massive international military response. Let's see. I don't know about that yet. Naval forces from the United States and allied countries would likely move quickly to reopening the shipping lanes. That's not really going to happen too much time in the future here, because there's a lot of pushback. Mine clearing operations would begin. Airstrikes could target missile sites. That definitely is happening. The conflict could expand rapidly. Now, that is potential there, especially with Iran saying that Ukraine is an open target. And that is something to see what happens. That's why historically, even during periods of extreme tension, the straits remained open. Because once the shipping stops, the global consequences are enormous. Now, the Straits of Hormuz is one of those places where geography shapes world history. It's small, it's narrow, but it comes an enormous share of the world's energy supply. Right now, it sits at the center of rising tensions in the Middle East. And that makes it one of the most closely watched locations on the planet. The good news is every major power understands how critical this waterway is. the bad news, in times of war, even small incidents can escalate quickly. And when there's so much of the world's economy flowing through one narrow passage, the margin for error becomes very small. That's exactly why today the Straits of Hormuz may be the most dangerous place on Earth. Now let me put a couple of caveats into this. As the oil goes out from the Gulf states, those Gulf states don't produce any food. So they need to have food imported. All their other products are imported. So if their food gets cut off, that's going to put a squeeze on them. So even if the United States wants to put this out and make it last a little longer, I think the Gulf states will probably cry uncle and want to put this to bed and give in to whatever the Iranians might want. But the Iranians probably want to make this a bigger issue than it really is, and saying, hey, you owe us, United States, Gulf states, and extract the price. We'll have to see. This is just, both sides are going to play hardball. This is going to be a hard one to be at. So let's see where this goes. And like I've always said to everybody, before I say all that, here, I appreciate everybody that if you can take a moment, please subscribe. I want to grow this tiny little channel into something a little bit bigger. Not much more, but just a little bit bigger would be nice. So I appreciate anybody that could just take a moment and hit that subscribe button. And I appreciate it. Again, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your community, and God bless the USA. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay kind, and as always, have a wonderful rowdy. Take good care of yourself and each other. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. I'll see you in the next video.